Hi, I'm Jake, and I'm a film club reporter. We're coming to you live from the London Film Festival at BFI. It's been an awesome week with some great webcasts, so if you've missed out on any of them, just go to the Film Club website.
Hi, my name's Daniel. I work at Film Club as a school support coordinator, and I'm Jenk's co-presenter here today. If you do have any questions, any of you schools out there, it should be all the details of how to get in touch should be scrolling along right now. Now, without further ado, I want to welcome our very special guest. Hello, Andy.
Hi there. Hello.
Nice to meet
Hi,
you.
guys.
Hi, Andy.
Andy he worked as the head of puppets on Tim Burton's Frankenweenie. And before we get into our interview, we're just going to watch a short clip on Frankenweenie. So we'll see you in a moment.
Something big is gonna happen.
The reason I wanted to do this film was based on growing up loving the Frankenstein movies and also my relationship with a certain dog that I had.
Victor brought an animal back to life.
I can fix that.
I think any time you are asked to do anything with Tim Burton, I think you'd be foolish not to jump at it.
Rise, Colossus. Rise from your tomb.
This is such a personal project, so it was nice to work with some people that I'd worked with before.
I was incredibly touched that he asked me to be a part of this project. He's just so talented.
There's a beauty to stop motion. I mean, there's an amazing artistry that goes into that. You can spend hours looking at the detail that people have put into it.
I can't believe it!
Frankenweenie's got so much heart.
Sparky!
But it's also very thrilling.
It certainly was exciting.
Yeah, it was a big finish.
Welcome back. Andy, could you tell us a bit about what Frankenweenie is about?
Well, essentially, it's a story about a little boy and the sort of relationship he has with his pet dog, and how after a sort of pretty terrifying event, he decides that he's got to embark on a mission to bring him back from the dead.
And can you tell us what your job was on the movie?
I was the head of the puppet department, so responsible for making and maintaining quite a lot of the characters that you see. We didn't make all of the puppets there. There's another sort of company, McKinnon Saunders, that we work with, but majority of the puppets were made on location, and then all of the puppets come together while they're being filmed, and we look after them, all their repairs, maintenance, and all the tweaks and changes that we have to do to them.
And what was it like working with an amazing guy like Tim Burton, and were you a fan before you started working with him?
Yeah, his work's such an iconic sort of thing to be a part of. It's a fantastic experience, and because he's an animator as well, and he's come from a sort of a background of making and drawing and all of that, it makes our job really easy. It's a really good relationship you have with him. You've got a sense of a style and a visual language, so you can really sort of tap into that, and he pushes you. His style's really quite difficult to make some of these characters come alive. Sort of giant bodies, tiny little feet. So it's quite a good experience working with him, and it's a real sort of a pleasure to sort of make some of these things come alive.
And with it kind of being Tim Burton's vision, is he kind of open to suggestions from outside people, or is it all kind of this is how I want it doing, and you make that for us?
Yeah, it's good with Tim. There's a good sort of mixture of things. He's very good because he can draw things, and we've got a blueprint from the original movie. So we can look at all those things, and you know, he can realise things out. He'll give us fantastic drawings, and then once we've got the drawing, we'll start on a sculpture, and then and he'll pick it up and he'll turn it around and he'll take bits off of it. So he really interacts with you on the making process and stuff, and he'll give you ideas of how he wants to move. So there's a big sort of physical presence with them, and how they move around and what they're going to do. So yeah, it's pretty hands-on.
Brilliant, thank you. We're now going to watch a short clip taken from the Frankenweenie exhibition, which is on at the BFI at the moment, and myself and Jenk were very lucky to have a look around there this morning. So enjoy that, and we'll see you back in a moment.
This is Tim Burton's desk with all his things that he worked with, like his original models and drawings. All the models were really expensive. Like that dog, Sparky, was about £40,000. And up here it's got like the clothes for the characters when they were trying out different fabrics. And they're actually so detailed, it looks like miniature clothes that we would actually wear. And up here they had to make loads and loads of different faces for when they were moving and talking. So there had to be so much detail in everything.
Welcome back to the live stream. Andy, did you have to do any on-the-spot repairs while they were filming?
Yeah, we often have to go down to the set and look after things. There's a big team of people working in the puppet department. I think there's about 40 of us at the height of filming. And we'd have a dedicated sort of crew that would go down and make sure that the film was always sort of maintained and it could keep shooting. But occasionally, if you were there and they were the last man out at night time and there was still an animator working, you'd have to go down and, you know, look after whatever the repair was. So a few times I'd have to go and make something good ready for them to carry on shooting.
So while we've been chatting, I noticed we've got well, some puppets in front of us. So these kind of, I don't know, kind of expensive display items, or were they used in the actual film?
Yeah, what you've got in front of you here is you've got all of the characters and parts that you see were used in the film, from one of the original Victors, Sparky, and an overscale sea monkey hand that was in just one shot of the film, and one of the at the front there's a really tiny little small-scale sea monkey. So all of these things were the original ones that we used that you'll see in the feature film, and yeah, some of them, depending on you know, which number it was when it was made, could come from sort of months and months of work. So yeah, you are talking of very expensive starting puppets, and as we make multiples, the moulds and the processes that we use to generate them, once you sort of crack that first one, then it gets a little bit cheaper, but you are looking somewhere between sort of £50,000 and £60,000 for one. So
A snip?
Yeah, they're sort of a bargain at that, really.
I went to the exhibition this morning and I wanted to ask, how many layers are there from the armature to the finished layer?
Well, that's a good question. If you, depending on the character, because if it's a large puppet, it's got to be kept really light. With these guys here, that's a good sort of working scale. You know, it means that they'll hold their own weight quite well. So we might have a mechanical armature, the skeleton that's inside, that could be made of steel or bronze or titanium alloys, all sorts of different things that go into them. And then we'll generally try and keep a very thin foam core to it all, so that'll be one layer on top. And then a very, very thin silicone core on top of that one, which gives it the really realistic skins. So as you can see with Sparky here and Victor, their skins will be silicone, so that'll be one layer. And then they might have wigs or caps and stuff on, so another layer. And then the costume. The costume's the sort of final process to it all, and that might have a latex backing, baking foil behind that, or lead or wire, so that could have several layers in itself, and then all that will come together, and it's got to look as light and as feather and move as realistically as possible. So 3 or 4, up to, you know, a dozen sometimes.
I'd love one of these on my desk at home. How many chores for my mum would I have to do to be able to get one of these?
How long do you think you've got to live? You'll probably be working at it for quite some time to get one of these. Like I said, they really are expensive, but the reason they're so expensive is because the amount of people that work on them. You know, you've got sculptors, draftsmen, sculptors, mould makers, silicone technicians, we've got armaturists, we've got jewellers, we've got wig makers, we've got people that will just make the blinks for them. If he blinks and it's a slow squint, it might take 20 or 30 stages to do. So somebody has to carefully prep all those out and cut them out one at a time out of, you know, sort of 1/4 millimetre thick sheets of plastic. So all of these people come together. So as a result, you've got sort of teams of people's work over months and months and months, and that tends to make them quite expensive.
Wow, it's incredibly detailed. We're going to go now to another clip taken from the Frankenweenie exhibition. See you in a moment.
This set personally is actually my favourite because it's got, I feel that it's got so much detail in it. Like over here on the box, it's actually got like the codes and and everything that you'd actually have. It looks exactly like what a school classroom would look like. It's got all the textbooks and the writing, and it's got all the things that a school would have, like the skeleton and the blackboard with the chalk writing. And it's also got like the paints and all the books that they would use.
Hi and welcome back. And sticking with the school theme that we saw in the clip there, we're going to ask Andy some school-related questions. Over to you.
So Andy, did you get into puppet making at school, and was it encouraged by your parents or your friends?
I've always enjoyed making things, and when I was at school I did enjoy art, and I loved woodwork and metalwork, so all of those sort of things, you know, sort of I found very easy. I took to them very easily. And then when I left school, I decided to go on and study at A-level sort of graphics and fine art. And then thought I sort of wanted to be a children's book illustrator. And during that time, I saw a short animated film on a program called Formations, called The Sandman. And at the end of that, there was a documentary about how they made it. And you could see that the people were actually working, building these things, and they'd come alive and they'd tell a story. And it was one of those sort of eureka moments where I went, that's exactly what I wanted to do. So I think at that point my parents started to support me, because I didn't really know what I wanted to do up till then. So, but that was the moment that I decided I wanted to make stop frame puppets.
Did any films inspire you when you were younger to get into puppet making?
Yeah, for me, because I'm that old, there's a lot of stop frame series that when I was little, Bagpuss being one of them, and then The Sandman, the film I was just talking about, was a huge sort of pivotal moment seeing that film. It was very dark and it was really sort of scary, but very beautifully done, and you could see the work that had got into it all. And with Bagpuss, it's, you know, they were just sort of charming things that you looked at when you were little, but as you grew up you realised that that was a whole world that had been made by sort of people, and if you wanted to tell a story, it was a really good way of building these things and making them, or finding things and making them move so they'd come alive. And so yeah, those are the sort of things more recently, things like The Iron Giant, which is a sort of a 2D, was a beautiful film to see. So there's a few sort of, you know, and sort of short films that you see along the way that are either very funny or very sad, but those three would be quite sort of big moments for me.
We've actually got a question from one of our students. It's from Jordan at St Joseph's Catholic Academy, and well, they ask, how many people does it take to make a movie? So maybe kind of related to Frankenweenie.
Oh, hi Jordan. To answer your question, I think we probably had sort of 300 people working on the film. The puppet department alone, we had 40 at the height of it, but I think there was 100 people that worked there during the course of the 2.5 years that we were filming, from just a few weeks for some people all the way up to sort of the full duration for some. And then you've got all the other sort of crews and the people that will come in and work on it all, from cameras to set builders to draftsmen. It's such a huge undertaking with so many skill bases that come into it, but yeah, it's, I think around about 300 people were the sort of numbers that we were talking about.
Wow. Just to kind of stick with some of our school questions, I think we've, well, I think the voice from above has got a few voicemails. Let's have a listen.
Hi, my name is Ruby. I go to St Michael's School. I am 7 years old. How long did it take to make Frankenweenie?
Okay, so that was from Ruby from St Michael's School, and she asked, how long did it take to make our friend Frankenweenie here? Hi Ruby. The very first sculpt we did of Frankenweenie, I think we spent a fair few months, probably about 8 months working on that original one, and then starting to mould it. And then we'd done several versions of it to get us to a point where we could get a mould and make a mechanical armature to it. So about a year's work to get to that, and then there was a change for the design, so we went back and did some more tweaks to it. So probably about a year and a half's work to get to the very first puppet.
Wow. It's a lot of work. I believe we've got one more question as well, so I'm going to listen out, see if that's going to come through.
Hello, I'm Sam. I'm 10 years old and I go to St. Joseph's Voluntary Academy. And my question is, how do you make animated movies look real? Thank you, bye.
And just for any of those of you that didn't hear that, that was from Sam from St. Joseph's Voluntary Academy. And he asked, how do you make animated films seem real?
That is a very good question. There's, wow. If you were to create a sort of a world, it has to be, everything has to be in unison to it. So nothing's going to jar you out of that experience of watching it. So with Frankenweenie, we're trying to create something that's all in the right scale, so you've got to be careful to make sure that everything matches up, something doesn't look out of place. You know, the lighting has to look like if it's in daytime or nighttime. There's so many parts to make it a very believable thing. Or if the film's very, very simple, that they, you know, if you looked at a short film or like Bob the Builder or something like that, that everything's in scale. So all those things are really important: scale, details, time of day, materials you use. With Frankenweenie, I mean, a good example of this is if there's a character like Edgar where he's got a jumper on. If it didn't look like that had been knitted, you know, it'd throw you out. You'd start to think, oh, is that a pair of socks or is that a real jumper in the real world? And you don't want to have that question, so you've got to pay a lot of attention to detail and make sure you find all the right things and use them together.
Brilliant, thank you.
Can I just ask, how long did it take to make the entire film?
I think probably from when Tim did the original to when we finished it, it's been, you know, sort of 10, 20, even a little bit more years. So the filming we managed to do in just 2.5 years for the minutes of the film that we were there. But the actual coming up with the idea and the drawings and the development of it from an idea can take many, many years. Most films take on average around 8 years for what we do to get from the start to finish.
Are there any stop animation films that you could recommend to any of our viewers?
Absolutely. You've definitely, and I mentioned it before, but The Sandman's a fantastic film to see. That one film's changed a lot of people's ideas about what to do and how it should be done. And I think Frankenweenie for sure should be one that everybody sees. The whole world that's been created for is just fantastic. But those two would be pretty good if you could see those. And another film that Tim did very, very, very early on called Vincent.
Have you seen that? I don't think I've seen that. Unfortunately, we are kind of out of time there, but it just myself and Jenk, we'd like to thank you for being such a wonderful guest and coming in to chat to us.
Thanks a lot. Thank you. Well
done. Before we go, I'd just got enough time to tell you about 2 competitions we are running. The first is one for all of you inspiring filmmakers out there, because the BFI are running a scheme for 16 to 19-year-olds for all the budding filmmakers. It's only open until this coming Tuesday, so all you need to do is go to the Film Club website and click on the BFI link for details. And also, another competition that Film Club are running, well, we are offering a chance for you and all of your classmates to win your very own special, well, Frankenweenie screening at your local cinema. I believe you've got all the details.
Yep, and it's easy to enter. All you need to do is email the name of a teacher at your school that inspires you and why. The email address for the answers is sam.wilson@filmclub.org. The competition closes Wednesday the 24th of October next week, so good luck.
Yeah, and all those details are on the website. Just before we go, I'm just going to let you know that we are going to leave you with a clip from the wonderful Frankenweenie. And, well, all that's left for us to say is thank you for tuning in and goodbye.
I need your help. Did you see those things? They were like sea monkeys. You know how on the package They're like in a happy kingdom and everyone's smiling.
Yeah?
They're not like that at all.
Victor, I need your help.
I asked them first.
My problem bigger.
Yeah, he's right.